Good morning, or afternoon, or night, or whatever time it is, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Landon Gray. I'm a 22-year-old senior history student at the University of Cincinnati. Um, I set up this video channel a couple days ago because I felt like our government is no longer adequately representing the people who elected it, and I kind of wanted to remind people that we do have the ability and even the obligation when our government goes astray to represent ourselves and those around us who agree with us, as a way to influence politics and hopefully push the government in a direction that's a little bit more sane when it steps out of bounds. I'm in no way advocating for any sort of revolution at all. That's not my purpose. My purpose is simply to state a different perspective. Hopefully people can learn from it, vote accordingly, and hopefully our government will change. I was prompted to go ahead and start recording videos by a link that my brother shot me earlier this morning regarding audio surveillance devices being put on buses around the United States in various cities. And that got me thinking. I started thinking about the Fourth Amendment, which of course is the amendment against unreasonable search and seizure of information and evidence and anything like that, which the government has violated on a lot of different levels. So first, I'd like to go into a couple different examples of how the government has violated those constitutional rights. Judge Andrew Napolitano, who's a great person, and I'll talk about him a little bit more in a minute, spoke about this. It's the right to be left alone. The Fourth Amendment says there is no unreasonable search and seizure, but we've already seen violations of this in various different ways, such as drunk driving checkpoints. That is unreasonable search and seizure, but the way the government gets around it is by posting a judge on every checkpoint, writing a search warrant for anybody who doesn't allow their car to be searched. So yes, it is technically legal, but it is very much a loophole that a lot of people aren't fully aware of how it works. A second would be, of course, the government surveillance of your cell phone. Even when the cell phone's turned off, they can turn it on and listen through your microphone and listen to your conversation in your kitchen that you're having with your friend about their cat and how their cat's not feeling well and they're going to take him to the vet. I mean, this is stuff that actually happens. It's well documented, and I will provide links to popular news mediums for these things that I'm saying, just to verify that I'm not crazy and I'm not citing my sources. I'm very aware that you need to provide proof. But these are just a few things that are going on, and this whole bus thing is something that is, again, another horrible example of, great example of how the government is violating our Fourth Amendment rights. The government now searches through our emails, and they search through our phone calls, they listen to our phone calls, text messages. The government's been keeping a database of every tweet that's ever been put on Twitter since like 2009 or some crazy year like that. I mean, these are things that are actually happening. And a lot of people are saying, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. What do I have to worry about? And theoretically, you're right, I guess. But principally speaking, you're wrong. One of the things that one of the correspondents said in this video that Fox News broadcast about these audio surveillance going on buses is, he's like, I agree that for our safety, we have to forsake some of our freedoms, and I think that's horribly flawed, because nobody hates someone just because they're free. I think that this is what the mainstream media is really breeding, is this sense of we have to give up our freedom to be secure, which is an extension of our foreign policy. This video isn't about foreign policy, but I will touch on it briefly. Our foreign policy creates an atmosphere that propels fear, and it really makes fear magnified. It's a driving force that our government uses to legitimize its power. But if we were doing only things that were beneficial for the world, we should have no need to worry about what people are saying on board buses or in their kitchens about their cats or wherever else when they're sending emails. But that's not the way it works. These audio surveillance devices going in buses are a slippery slope. The government could just as easily mandate that restaurants and hotels and shopping malls and shops and wherever else have to put these surveillance devices in just as easily. And I think a lot of Americans would just overlook it and say, well, that's the government protecting us, and that's fine. But where do we draw the line? Now, of course, we know all of those places that I just mentioned use their own private audio and video recording equipment for security purposes, for their merchandise and to protect their business from lawsuits and things like that. But when the government starts saying you have to hand this stuff over to us, you have to, it's mandatory that you give us your information, that's when things get a little bit intense. So my question is, where do we draw the line? Is public transit, is that acceptable to you? Are you willing to give up that much more freedom? And if we do have to give up freedom for security, what does that say about what our government's actually doing? Why? Those are just a few questions that I had for you. Definitely keep the Fourth Amendment in mind. It's really important that people know their rights, or else we'll lose them. And this is a great example of that. This is a great example of the government overstepping its bounds again. And the public outcry for this is minimal. The media even makes it seem as if this is a minimal issue. This correspondent saying, well, I agree that we can give up freedom for security. I mean, that's bullshit. I'm sorry, excuse me, but that's ridiculous. We can't have a government that is propelling this idea of fear so much to the point that it needs to record our conversations for us to feel safe. That's insanity. But insanity seems to be the order of the day, and so we, the people, have an obligation to stand up and fight against it. Again, not advocating for a revolution, in any sort of violent regard, but an ideological revolution, a way to influence elections and hopefully get a few more liberty-minded people in office wouldn't be bad. That would be fine. So I encourage everybody to stand up for what they believe in. One man that certainly does all the time, that if you're interested in the liberty movement, or at least find it thought-provoking, even if you don't agree, you should certainly follow Judge Andrew Napolitano. I'll provide his link for his Facebook page down below. He's a great guy to follow, written a lot of good books, does a lot of podcasts. He does segments on major news networks, primarily Fox News, who he used to work for until he got relieved for a video that was just a little bit too free-minded for the producers at Fox News to allow. But I'll provide the link for that as well, because it is quite entertaining. But that's all I have for today. Love the United States, love it. I think that we should all use the First Amendment to our full potential, and everybody should have a nice hearty conversation about this sort of thing from time to time. So if you agree, if you disagree, leave a comment in the comment section, subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting a video about once a week regarding current events, current issues that I've been aware of and that I think people should be aware of, as well as my perspective. And I encourage all sorts of political discourse, so if there's more than one person watching, please feel free to go at it in the comments. I might even jump in there myself if I have the time. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great day.